All right, let's dive into a truly terrifying tale. This is a story about habit, horror, and a haunting that was so powerful, it was passed down through generations. Settle in, because this one gets dark.
You know how some people are just set in their ways? Well, this story, coming to us from a small village in Punjab, is about a man whose rigid habits would lead him into the deepest kind of darkness. His routine was so unshakable, it literally bent the rules of night and day, and that attracted something that was just waiting in the shadows.
So, let's talk about our main character, Uma. This was a strong man, a wrestler who wasn't afraid of any living person. But the strangest thing about him? His schedule. Now, his family begged him to stop. They tell him, Uma, 3:30 in the morning isn't morning. It's the deepest part of the night. You know, a time when things other than people are awake. But he just wouldn't listen. He was convinced his presence scared off thieves and wild animals. And that stubbornness, well, it was about to cost him dearly. So, one night, out there all by himself, his lonely routine was broken by a sound that just wasn't natural. This was the very first sign that he was not, and probably had never been, truly alone out there. Just picture it. He's working, it's dead quiet, and suddenly he hears this soft, desperate sobbing cutting through the silence. And it was close, coming from right behind a big jamun tree just a few feet away. He didn't hesitate. He rushed over there, within seconds of hearing it. But there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. No person, no animal, no source for a sound that had been so crystal clear just moments before. This was the first warning sign. Now, you'd think, after being terrified like that, he might change his routine, right? Maybe wait for the sun to come up? Nope. He decided to shift his work to an even more dangerous time, midnight. His thinking was, hey, at least other people might still be awake. He was so wrong.
Of course, his new schedule didn't bring him any safety. One night, around 1 in the morning, he heard that crying sound again. This time, it was coming from under a tamarind tree. But this time, he wasn't just hearing it, he was seeing it. And this is where the horror really starts to creep in. See, at first, he just thinks she's a person in trouble. He offers to help, but she stays completely silent. Then he offers her some water from his flask, and as she stands and walks into the light of his lantern, that's when he sees it. The impossible truth. This is no human. This is a Chudile, the vengeful spirit of a wronged woman. He just dropped everything and ran. Didn't even think, just pure instinct. His heart is pounding. After running for a bit, he risks a quick look over his shoulder, and he sees her, following him, matching his pace exactly. But she isn't running. She's just walking with this terrifying, unnatural speed. In his blind panic, he's just trying to find a different path, any way out of there, and he ends up stumbling right behind that same tamarind tree. And that's when he finds the source of the spirit, her brutally murdered body, her face completely crushed, just left to rot in the mud. Somehow, Uma makes it to the edge of the residential area. He's gasping for breath. He thinks he's finally safe. And right then, he sees a familiar face, an older woman from his village, an auntie, who seems to be out for a late-night walk. She seemed to know exactly what had happened. She spoke with this calm, comforting voice, and she offered to walk with him to help him report what he saw. For just a fleeting moment, Uma felt this huge wave of relief wash over him. He thought he'd found an ally. So they start walking, supposedly to go check the scene before getting the authorities. But that feeling of relief, it starts to curdle back into fear. He notices she's holding this little black pouch, a potly really tightly. He asks her over and over, "Auntie, what's in the pouch?" But she just keeps brushing him off. Finally, she stops walking. She turns to him and her kind face just twists into this demonic grin as she opens the pouch. And she reveals its horrifying contents. Human filth. This wasn't relief. This was the real trap. Her laugh, it was this terrible, high-pitched cackle that chased him as he ran for his life again. A sound that just wasn't human. This was no helpful villager. This was something far, far worse. A being that feeds on pure terror. Uma made it home, but he fell into this deathly sickness that no doctor could cure. He was just wasting away.
His family was desperate, so they finally called a wise 107-year-old pundit, a holy man who understood the world beyond medicine.
And this is where it all comes together. The old pundit explained the horrifying truth. Uma had actually encountered two different entities that night. First, he fled from the tormented spirit of the murdered woman, who probably just needed help, and he ran straight into the arms of a purely demonic being. The second one, the auntie, sought only to break his will with sheer terror, which would make him vulnerable to possession. He chose life over his stubborn habit. He finally understood the warnings he had ignored for so long. The fields belonged to the living during the day, sure, but at night, they belonged to something else entirely.
But the story didn't just end with Uma's recovery. Oh no. The terror of that single night would echo through his entire family line, becoming a dark, cautionary legacy. See, this isn't just some random spooky tale. It's a real piece of family history, a warning that's been passed down through 4 generations. It's a testament to the night the spirits of the field revealed themselves, and it's been kept alive as a warning for all of his descendants. And I think what you should really take away from this is that sometimes the oldest stories are told for a very good reason. They aren't just for entertainment. They're like maps of dangers that were seen long ago, and they serve as a warning that maybe, just maybe, we should all listen to, because some nights are simply not meant to be broken.